My best bub's fiancé clearly hates me, so she made sure I never received a wedding invite, but he had no idea, and I don't know if I should tell him, because it could ruin the wedding. I might have goofed up. Me, 32 meters, and my best friend Jordan, 32 meters, have been friends since diapers. We're basically family. After college, we both moved back home so we could live at home and get our feet underneath us. Jordan started dating Amelia, 35 feet, a lovely girl, around 4.5 years ago, and from the get-go, she seemed to politely dislike me. I don't know why. Oh well, c'est la vie. Jordan and Amelia moved across the country in 2021 after Amelia earned a promotion at work. In 2022, Jordan proposed, she said yes, and they set a wedding date for the end of September 2023. I got a save the date card at the beginning of the year and, based on the conversations I had with Jordan, assumed I would be in the wedding party, either as a groomsman or the best man, but never received any official confirmation from either of them. A couple of months before the wedding, I saw that wedding invitations had gone out on social media and figured mine was en route. It never came. I waited a couple of weeks, figured it might have just gotten lost in the mail, before I checked in with him. I called Jordan and had a brief conversation with him where he was clearly agitated and said he was dealing with a lot, would be incommunicado for the near future, to direct any wedding-related questions to Amelia, and he'd call me when things cooled off. I called, texted, and emailed Amelia several times over the course of a week, but she didn't respond to any of them. At this point, I figured I wouldn't be attending the wedding and that things were really messed up for some reason between the two of us. Yesterday, a little over 3 weeks after our last conversation, Jordan messaged me asking if I was free to chat. I jumped at the opportunity to get some answers, and after exchanging pleasantries, Jordan jumped right into a spiel saying that he knew I was super busy with work and dealing with a lot of personal stuff, but he'd love it if I could attend his wedding, even just as a guest, and wanted to know if there was anything he could do to help make that happen. I just blurted out that I'd love to, but hadn't received an invitation. Jordan stared blankly at me and said, "What?" And I just kind of verbal vomited that I hadn't received an invitation. That was the reason I'd called him a few weeks ago, that I'd contacted Amelia about it but she never got back to me and left me on read, and that I had no idea what he was talking about me dealing with too much to be involved in the wedding. After a very pregnant pause, he said he needed to go sort things out, and that he'd call me when it was done. My phone's blowing up since, with wedding attendees asking me what happened and why the wedding might be off now. My girlfriend has reaffirmed to me that I did nothing wrong, but I've had people from all sides saying I stuck my nose where it didn't belong and caused a stink, which is really messing with my head. Was I in the wrong here? Update 1. Jordan and I texted Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. He said he was handling stuff and asked if I'd be free to talk Thursday afternoon with him and Amelia, which I agreed to. This is just a rough summary, and I probably forgot some stuff. Frankly, I'm too mentally fried to weave a narrative right now, so it's just gonna be bullet points. A couple of pieces of info about Jordan to provide some context. Jordan was raised fairly sheltered and religious until he was 18, when he went to college and opened up. As a result, he still has some, I don't know, blind spots about certain things. Jordan has mild to moderate OCD. It's managed with low levels of medication and maintenance therapy, which is one of the reasons he gets overwhelmed easily, especially from unexpected stressors, and weddings are chock full of those. Now for the actual update. The wedding, it's still happening. I will be the best man, and I've been reading on all the things I need to do. The person who was filling in for me, Nathan, 34 meters, one of mine and Jordan's good friends who's also neurodivergent, is thrilled to not have to spend the day peopling and can instead party his socks off. As a result of this mix-up, Jordan, Amelia, or whoever's parents are paying for the wedding will be comping me and my girlfriend's plane tickets and hotel stay and my best man tux. What was the main driver of this mess in the first place? Amelia's pregnant, yay. They found out a couple of days after the wedding invites got sent out. Apparently, they were passively trying, then actively trying in 2022, but stopped and swapped back to heavy birth control once the save the dates went out because Amelia did not want to be pregnant on her wedding day. This led to several changes to the wedding, threw a bunch of other planning into disarray, sent Jordan into an OCD hole for a couple of weeks, which is why he was agitated when I called him and why he needed time to get his head around it all and get the intrusive thoughts managed, and one of the reasons why Amelia ignored or missed my messages and calls. Why did Amelia not respond to my messages? Besides surprise pregnancy, Amelia said that she's on her phone for work a ton and gets hundreds, if not thousands, of emails, texts and calls per day. She misses some stuff, especially since she didn't have my contact info saved, lol. I also emailed her work email instead of personal email, which I don't have, and my own personal email handle is not my name. In the future, I was told to be more insistent in my communication with her to break through her everyday noise. Duly noted. What happened to my invite? Amelia claims that she sent me one but must have sent it to my old address. I did move in March to my current residence, and the save the dates were sent out in January. What did Amelia tell Jordan about me not being in the wedding? Apparently nothing. According to Amelia, he either 1, believed one of his intrusive thoughts was real when he was in his OCD hole, 2, he got confused when she told him one of her cousins with a similar sounding name to mine wouldn't be attending, or 3, some combination thereof. According to Amelia, she always wanted me in the wedding. Why did Amelia not contact me after I didn't RSVP back? She assumed there was something going on with me and Jordan and that we'd sort it out and he'd tell her. In the meantime, she was busy with work, wedding planning, and unexpected baby. How did a bunch of wedding guests find out about this mess? Jordan called his mom for advice after our convo. Mom had church friends over, church ladies overheard a good chunk of their convo, and church ladies are gossipy kazoos. Jordan has spent a decent chunk of time the last couple of days putting out fires, so to speak. After about an hour, Amelia left to go deal with some wedding stuff, and Jordan and I chatted about things for a couple of hours. Do I believe Amelia's explanations? Kinda. The baby's real as far as I know, confirmed by a medical professional. She does have a cousin I know she's close with who has a similar sounding name to me, and she does work from her phone a lot, but the rest of it just seems a little too convenient, and I feel like I'm left with more questions than answers. The good news is since I'm in the wedding, I should have great access to figure out what's going on, I hope. Update 2. Valp, it's been a while, 7 months. I've been absolutely swamped at work, putting out fires with my hair on fire for the last 6-ish months, so here's the brief version of the wedding and some post-wedding stuff. The lead-up was boring, a ton of emailing back and forth between me, Amelia, other wedding people, venues, vendors, etc. Jordan and I had some pretty deep conversations over the week and reaffirmed the importance of our continued friendship. It was really awkward the first night we were there for dinner, especially considering both Jordan's stepsister, Sarah, 32 feet, and Amelia's younger sister and maid of honor, Diana, 29 feet, were already staying there. We stayed at an Airbnb within walking distance of Jordan's house. I went into event work mode pretty quickly, and that smoothed things out right quick and put Amelia at ease. I spent most of the lead up to the wedding either at the ceremony and reception site doing setup, gaffing, running cables, setting up monitors, hanging and focusing, building stuff, etc., or running around picking up stuff, people or silly people with Sarah. My girlfriend, Alice, 29 feet, was kinda miffed about the whole thing. She's never worked a wedding before, just attended, so she expected it to be like 50% working, 50% vacation, when it ended up being more like 90% me working and 10% vacation. She spent most of her time helping Jordan out with wedding support related stuff or gaming on my laptop when she gassed out or got too overwhelmed. The wedding was a fun mess, with tons of unrelated drama. Amelia sure knows how to design a beautiful ceremony and plan a shindig, I'll give her credit for that. I didn't get to enjoy much of it since I was working the wedding with a few other people in the wedding party more than attending, but c'est la vie. The ceremony took forever, though, and I felt terrible for all the bridesmaids who had to wear heels through that ordeal. Unfortunately, there was no gotcha moment or come to Jesus moment where I got the full story as to why everything went sideways, but based on what I observed while working the wedding, I think I've been able to piece together roughly what went down. Why wasn't I the best man? I think this had more to do with Amelia's parents, Ken and Karen, 60s, than with her, although she still doesn't like me. My main reasoning. Ken and Karen were paying for the majority of the wedding, more than Amelia, Jordan, and Jordan's parents combined. Jordan and Amelia sketched out pretty early what they wanted the wedding to look like. Throughout the process, Amelia made several significant changes out of the blue. For example, they originally agreed on a smaller wedding, something like 50 to 60 people, then one day Amelia wanted a larger wedding. Jordan didn't really care all that much and just figured she changed her mind. He just somehow missed that most of these changes occurred after Amelia either had a phone call or in-person meeting with her parents, which is on brand for him. Her parents were very standoffish towards me, to be expected, feelings mutual, and made a lot of, frankly, weird comments about Amelia's younger, totally not a troublemaker, brother, Chase, 23 meters, often in comparisons between us that flattered him, and kept insisting he was perfect best man material. Jordan has barely met Amelia's parents, maybe a dozen times over the last 5 years. Every time they visit for the holidays, Amelia has them leave early for whatever reason, and Amelia rarely initiates calls with them. Amelia acts really weird around her parents. Around everyone else, she's a badass modern woman, but around her parents, she gets super meek, like her mom asked her to go drive to some specific store over an hour away to get her a specific food item in the middle of wedding planning, and she just did it without any protest and left the rest of the wedding party in a lurch. When she got back 3 hours later, her mom took like 2 bites then threw it away. If I hadn't seen this with my own 2 eyes, I wouldn't have believed it, it was that bizarre. Lots of other innocuous stuff that individually means nothing, but when combined together, provides a decent amount of circumstantial evidence. So here's what I think happened, roughly. Ken and Karen wanted Chase to be the best man at the wedding, and Jordan really wanted me to be the best man. Rather than make a choice, Amelia appeased both parties by telling them what they wanted to hear while making no actual decision. The longer it went on, the more complex the lying got. When Jordan had his breakdown, Amelia saw a way to get out from under her Gordian knot of lies by taking advantage of the crisis. Unfortunately for her, Jordan came to his senses before the wedding, started asking questions, and when push finally came to shove, she chose her relationship over whatever was going on with the family, much to their apparent chagrin. Why does Amelia not like me? I have two main guesses here. I swear a lot. I tend to forget most people don't use the word flapjacks as a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction, interjection, numeral, article, and determiner. Since I was working the wedding, I was on my best behavior and cut down on my swearing by a good 90%, which led me to notice that any time I, or anyone for that matter, curses, Amelia has a little grimace and cringe reaction. Amelia herself also rarely curses, and if she does, it's something pretty small like heck or darn, followed by a quick apology. It's probably exacerbated by the fact that in spite of my generally unprofessional behavior, I hold a fairly professional job. The dissonance can bother folks. Politics, and before people freak out, I'm somewhere between a democratic socialist and socialist on the political spectrum. I am a far cry from conservative, but for Amelia, that's not far enough left, as from what I can tell, she's either a tanky or tanky adjacent. This has been more or less confirmed to me based on her social media engagement relating to the major geopolitical events of the last 6 months or so. Probably exacerbated by the fact that my job involves working in geopolitics, so I am part of the repressive imperialist Western system. And as it turns out, I'm not the only person in the wedding who isn't super fond of Amelia. I found my flock, so to speak. What happened after the wedding? Jordan and Amelia had a healthy baby girl, named Iris. Sarah and I are the godparents. Jordan and I have been talking a lot more. For whatever reason, he asks me for childcare tips, like, bruh, I'm just as lost as you here, and have set up a weekly gaming session where we're slowly slogging through BG3 with Sarah and Nathan. As far as I know, Jordan and Amelia are in couples counseling, which seems to be helping from my vantage point. Amelia was weirdly against it, but Jordan pushed for it so he could be a better husband to her, and she relented. As far as I know, Amelia's already back at work and on most of her pre-baby schedule. Jordan's stepsister, Sarah, has been checking in on them periodically, and according to her, there are no major red flags at the moment. Amelia actually texts/emails me stuff now. It's mostly baby pictures, but it's a step in the right direction, and I appreciate it. I send cat pictures in response. Hopefully, this is the last update. My life got far too interesting for that month, and with my current workload, I doubt I could mentally handle more drama. Thanks for all the help, everyone.
My generational wealthy boyfriend admitted that he'd only marry me if we had a prenup, but I can't stand for that, and I'm realizing I can't stand him. I, 34 feet, have been with my boyfriend, 34 meters, for about 2 years. Everything is going well, and we love each other. We've been discussing marriage, and then he mentioned he would not marry me without a prenup. We discussed this in detail, and I did not like what he proposed. His family owns a lot of property, land, and has lots of savings. After marriage, he wants me to move into one of the houses his parents own. I told him I am uncomfortable building a life and a family in a house I have no ownership in, and he didn't understand. I told him I prefer to rent a place together, or we can live temporarily in one of his parents' houses and look at property together, but he refused. He said he liked the houses his parents and he already owned. He said he would not buy other property, and he said he would not sell any of his property to buy one with me. He told me if I wanted to own property, I could save up money by living in one of these properties and invest in one myself. The problem is, he would be entitled to half if we divorced since my purchase would happen after marriage. He told me I could pay his parents rent if I feel like I don't belong on the property. He told me I could buy half of the house we live in from his parents. The problem is, I don't like the houses that he or his parents own. They also have a lot of stuff, and I feel like there's no space for me. I want to look at houses, I want to pick a place I live in, and I want to do it with my partner. I've made this clear to him over and over, but he won't budge. He earns more than me, and he has more assets than me for sure. He made it clear he was afraid I was a gold digger, and he wants to protect himself and his family's assets from me, which I can understand. This whole thing has made me feel very weird. This topic has come up before, and it has always made me feel very small. It makes me feel like all he cares about are his assets. It makes me feel like he wants me as long as I fit into the life he already built and doesn't care to build one with me. It makes me feel like a gold digger. He has enough money to retire right now and live comfortably. I don't. He basically told me that whatever money he earns now, he can spend, so he won't be investing in too much anymore. He expects our earnings and our savings after marriage to be split, which I feel off about. I'm sure this is normal for some people. I'm sure other people would be happy to be with someone who is well off. I am not. I want someone beside me building a life with me, not someone who has built a life with his parents and wants me as long as I behave and fit into his life, which is how he's been making me feel. So I'm leaving him. I welcome opinions on this. But yeah, it's been too long that this has made me feel off about our relationship. I'm protecting my peace and leaving him with all his houses and money. What do you, as outsiders, think? Relevant comments. Do you have any more context for the prenup? Response: he mentioned prenup very early, and I would keep asking him about the details. but he would keep it very vague and assure me we would work it out when the time came. I never asked him about his assets, and I never actually knew how much assets his family had. The only things I knew were from some of his one-off comments about certain assets, if he mentioned this tenant or that tenant, or this thing they have to repair, etc. I had also initiated these conversations. He mentioned wanting to live with me and work towards marriage. I figured then that time had come. This is when I sat him down and asked him what he expected from me, what he wanted, and to clarify the conditions of any prenups he wanted to propose. He still tried to dodge my inquiry. It took so long for me to pull this information out of him. I guess I did wait 2 years, but marriage talk seemed like the right time to push him to discuss it. Update. So many things have happened. Before I start, here's some important context. I have a stable and rewarding career, and though I don't earn as much as him, I am very happy with what I can afford. My parents have always taught me that women should be independent, and I've taken that to heart. I live below my means, which has allowed me to put aside money for savings and investments. A lot of comments have mentioned that I should take the free rent, and that it would somehow set me forward in life, but for me, giving up my sense of autonomy and control over my home, my safe space, is not worth the potential savings. I lived with my parents and saved aggressively until I was 30, so I am lucky enough to be in a position where I can comfortably afford rent or a mortgage by myself. Plus, he expected the living situation to be permanent. I would not move into a house owned by someone else just to save on rent. Would it be nice to save $2,000 a month? Sure. But most people pay rent, and I am not an exception. If I really wanted that, I could move back in with my parents. But again, autonomy is very important to me. Also, if he's this stubborn now, I don't see how this situation could be improved later after I already moved in. I could also counter the prenup and make it so all my accumulated assets stay mine, or put in a clause that I'll be compensated for any children we have, or put that I get alimony or at least have a roof over my head in case we divorce. But for me, that feels overly transactional. It also gives me the vibe that I'm going to be living with a roommate who I sleep with and might have babies with, not a partner. I prefer to feel like we're in it together. He can keep what was his, but I want to build up what is ours. Also, if everything is completely split, it'll open up a new can of worms. How will our expenses be split if I'm working and he's just chilling? What happens when we have children? He has money saved for them, but will I get a say in how we spend that money? I know these can be worked out, but this is not the type of marriage I want. I can't predict everything that will happen, and I don't think I can capture it in a contract. And it's already been so heartbreaking for me, I don't want to go through more. Anyways, yada yada yada, I'll just say that it felt like I was being stripped of my autonomy, stonewalled, and treated like a hostage. Okay, onto the updates. So, I told him I needed to end this relationship. I appreciated and truly enjoyed my time with him, but our financial values and the preferred married lifestyle just don't match. It was a quick and easy conversation, to be honest. I expected the breakup to be a bit of a process, not a one-and-done thing, since our lives overlap a lot. I'm also in contact with a lot of his family, so of course, during this whole time, a lot of them got involved, but blah blah. Not super relevant to updates. Talk with his parents. Okay, I love his parents. I had a great relationship with them. I would go over to their house, we would have food, chat, watch TV, sometimes I would go to the parties they host without my ex if he was busy. A few days after my talk with my ex, I went over to say goodbye. I didn't know if the prenup was family enforced or not, so I kept it very general and mainly focused on how the situation made me feel and what I was looking for in a relationship. His parents were shocked Pikachu face when I told them why I was leaving. His parents really want grandbabies, though my ex's younger brother and my sister-in-law do not want kids. They were thrilled when I entered their lives and expressed my desire for children. His parents had built their wealth together, with his dad being the major breadwinner for most of their relationship. His mom was taken aback by what he was offering me, saying it didn't align with the values he was raised with. She had been effectively retired for nearly 15 years and mentioned that ex's dad never made her feel uncomfortable due to their differing earning potentials. They shared that they built their assets for themselves and their children, which includes anyone their children choose to share their lives with. They own many properties but have enough investments to live off. Their plan was to either sign over a house of our choice as a wedding gift or sell a house and provide us with cash to buy a home we both wanted. As they age, they intend to divide their properties evenly between my ex and his brother, since they no longer wish to manage the properties and will live off their investments. Ex's mom said she would have ensured my name was on my ex's portion, especially given our desire for children. They also mentioned that their investments would be directed into funds for future grandkids after their passing, which might be what my ex was referring to when he said his children would be set, though it feels a bit morbid. Ex's mom assured me that the mother of her grandbabies would be well taken care of and expressed a desire for us to be on equal footing while raising a family. Honestly, this conversation felt like a weight off my chest. I had always loved his family and never felt excluded, but the prenup discussions had left me confused and hurt. What they shared aligned with what I knew of my ex and his family before. I'd be lying if I said I didn't start imagining this life. I talked to my ex again. Basically, he told me his dad had previously joked about hoping that he and his brother wouldn't end up with gold diggers, which is where that comment stemmed from. He felt a strong responsibility to protect his parents' assets, not feeling entitled to them himself, and by extension, not believing I should be entitled either. In his culture, sons are expected to carry on the family line, so he felt the need to keep his assets within that line, which I'm not part of, although any sons we might have would be. Most of the assets he worries about are under his parents' name, and he had never consulted them about what to do, he just acted on what he believed was right. He also claimed he wasn't that well off and that his assets shouldn't create a barrier between us, which confuses me further. Isn't the issue here that he was well off and wanted to hold on to what he had, rather than create a shared lifestyle? Perhaps he meant that he didn't own much personally, and that most of it was indeed under his parents' name. He felt like he was punching above his weight with me and was scared that I would leave him. He worried that my interest in him was solely because of his finances, seeing as that was the only area where he felt he had more to offer, while he described me as intelligent, hardworking, and beautiful. His fear about moving forward in the relationship led him to become defensive rather than communicate openly. To me, it seemed that his actions and words were driven by deep-seated insecurity. He had made a few passing comments about how I was more beautiful and hardworking than he was, which I had always interpreted as compliments rather than self-deprecating remarks. Although he is a caring, funny, and intelligent person in his own way, I didn't realize his insecurities were so profound. He also apologized over and over about how he didn't mean to make me feel like an outsider to him and his parents, and insisted that he wanted to share a life with me. He said his insecurities and fear got the best of him, and he didn't handle it well. He had taken advantage of my patience and lashed out because he felt inadequate and scared. It broke my heart because I think all this could have been avoided. We've been through this song and dance before many times, where he would feel some sort of way, then act out as he's processing it. Until now, I always stayed through it and we moved on. But it's never gone on for so long. But I guess the issues we've faced before were smaller compared to mapping out our whole lives. I've pushed him to seek individual counseling and we've attended couples counseling together, but I can't force him to sit and identify his emotions or employ the tools we were taught. The prenup conversation happened over a long period of time. He had so many chances to pump the brakes and reflect on what he was saying, and simply just listen to me. But he didn't. He then sat in front of me saying that everything he said before was not what he meant. He said he would be happy to take care of me and our future kids, we could buy a house together, or rent if I wanted to, because now he wasn't scared about creating a life together. Completely opposite to everything he had been saying. But how unsettling is it that he seemed so completely comfortable and confident in the hurtful words he previously said, and was okay with placing me in a very unequal position in the relationship. Despite me continuously trying to articulate what I wanted, and how he was making me feel, he didn't even consider my side, over months. I know I have a good deal with what his parents are offering, and I know he and I get along super well. But I'm not marrying his parents. I can't have his mom with us during every argument or life decision we take. Thinking back, I can count on one hand where we've run into issues, and he was able to address it without acting up. He's such a nice guy, but I can't be his garbage bin every time he needs to sort out his feelings. It's already worn me down. He's a grown man, he's intelligent and intuitive, he's had 2 years to learn how to communicate with me, and he's not. I honestly can't tell if what he said to me is genuine, or coming from his parents, or coming from a fear of losing me. I could give him the benefit of the doubt again, and move forward with the relationship, as I've done in the past, but I'm tired. I think this is a fixable problem, but I also have not seen any improvement since we started dating. If anything, this prolonged experience has made me feel it's gotten worse. I will not make the mistake of investing in a man because of what he could be, instead of who he is. If the last few months are a testament to how he handles stressful situations, I can only take things as they are and assume they won't change. This whole thing has left me sour. I don't need too much, but I do expect to be treated with love and support, even during times of disagreement. I cannot just forget the feelings and words I've felt and heard over the last couple of months. I can't just unhear and unknow that he is afraid I'm a gold digger. That was just one of many comments that really hurt me. I think life will have a lot more ups and downs, and I cannot imagine what kind of difficulties we'll face if this is how we communicate, even after identifying it and working on it in therapy. For these reasons, I'm still choosing to walk away. Very different from leaving because of a prenup, but it is leaving nonetheless. And to be honest, this hurts more. I know it will hurt for a while, but I pray I'll be avoiding heartache and complications in the future. Who knows? If it was meant to be, maybe we'll find our way back. For now, I've told him and his family I need space and time. I know that it seems like I'm giving up a lot, but of course there are things I can't put in a post. Update 2. I actually made the last update ages ago, but took a while to post, because it didn't feel like it was over. But now after this time, I know it is. It's been tough, and it's only been a couple of months, but I'm sure I made the right call. It's tough watching everyone coupled up and having children, but it is what it is. I'm proud of myself for leaving, and I'm slowly healing. Thank you everyone for your comments. I appreciate you all. I don't want any more kids, because my husband keeps getting me pregnant, so I gave him the ultimatum that he has to get snipped or I'm leaving and taking the kids. My husband Jack, 28 meters, and I, 27 feet, have been together for 4 years. We have 2 young children, and I am pregnant again. I have been pregnant for what feels like most of our relationship. I got pregnant 4 months into our relationship. We got married a month before our daughter's first birthday and ended up with a honeymoon baby. After our son was born, I talked to my OB, and she put me on birth control. I have been taking it militantly. My daughter is now 3, and my son is 2. A little over a month ago, I discovered I am pregnant again, despite taking my birth control religiously. Canceling a pregnancy is banned in my state, and the pregnancy was discovered too far along to attempt to obtain one out of state. While Jack and I were nervous, we also love being parents and decided that 3 young kids would be a challenge, but 3 was a magic number for us. Then we went in for the first ultrasound and got some unexpected news: it's twins. Things have been tough financially, and while we were stressed but excited for a 3rd child, we were not expecting a 3rd and 4th child. Beyond the finances, I'm the primary caretaker, and I know that twins are going to be a lot. 3 children under 5 are already a lot, but 4 children under 5 are going to be really difficult for me. Physically, I'm tired of being pregnant. I've been pregnant or feeding for the majority of our relationship. It's exhausting, it feels awful, and I don't recognize my body anymore. 4 children are enough. I don't want more. I told Jack that I was done with pregnancy. I've been pregnant enough. I've been experimenting with different types of birth control for over a decade, and I still can't stop getting pregnant. Because pregnancy termination isn't a valid option where we live, we need something more permanent. He agreed and suggested an IUD. I told him no, if it failed, it could cause an ectopic pregnancy, which could end me, especially where we live. I've had birth control fail me multiple times already, and I'm not taking the chance, so I suggested a vasectomy. He was not open to the idea and was even upset that I suggested it and told me I should get my tubes tied. I told him a tubal ligation is a much bigger surgery, and I could be recovering for weeks, during which time I wouldn't be able to work or take care of our 4 young children, but he could ice his balls for a day or 2 and be done with it. He told me that not getting pregnant was ultimately my responsibility and topped it off by saying, "That's what your body, your choice means, your body, so you choose." That's when it went from a discussion to a full-blown fight. See, when I was 19, I had another birth control failure with my boyfriend at the time, Tom. I didn't want the pregnancy, but Tom did. I told him I was terminating it since it was my body and my choice, and Tom said some horrible things to me, including threatening me. I broke up with him and got it done. In response, Tom ended up following me one night and attacking me. I don't want to go into detail, but it was horrible, and he ended up going to prison for a number of charges related to the attack. Not only do I have a number of scars and some long-lasting physical effects, but I have PTSD as well. Jack knows about my history and diagnosis and has known from the beginning. I have a pretty prominent facial scar, so I was upfront about it early on in our dating. Jack always presented himself as very pro-choice, so I was shocked that he would say that. I got really emotional and started crying and shouting, and it turned into a full-blown fight. Eventually, I said that birth control was a 2-way street, and so far, I've been the only one managing it, and he said, "And now we have 2 kids and 2 more coming, great job." I told him he sounded like Tom, and he got super pissed, basically said how dare you compare me to him, and maybe he might want kids one day with someone who doesn't compare him to her felon ex-boyfriend. I was stunned and horrified. I said, "Well then let's not waste any time," then packed up myself and the kids and drove to my parents' place. It's been about a week since the fight. I've spoken with Jack a few times, and he has since apologized and said he was out of line and was speaking from a place of anxiety after finding out about the twins, but also that I said things that were out of line and it was wrong of me to insist he undergo a medical procedure. He said that he can move on from the things I said and that he wants to see his children and be a family again. I told him no, that I didn't want to move on from the things he said to me. I can't just get over that, and I think we need space apart. Jack was upset by this, and while we talked, I brought up getting a separation agreement to manage custody and finances while we figure things out. He did not like this suggestion, said we didn't need to pull the courts into this. I haven't told a lot of people about what's happening, but my family and a couple of close friends. My sister and best friend both think I should throw the whole man away, but my brother, who is the only other one married with kids, thinks that I'm being extreme for what sums up to a fight between two scared people who both said nasty things. My mom is trying to be supportive but is occasionally reminding me that I don't want to be a single mother of 4 and telling me not to let my PTSD drive my decisions, while my dad is being completely unhelpful. He thinks jokes are helpful, like calling me doorknob because I can't stop getting knocked up, telling me to let the oven cool down, real knee slappers. I don't know what to do. My kids are happy to be at Grandma and Grandpa's house, but they miss their daddy. I'm 4 months pregnant and already uncomfortable as hell. I wish I could go back to being a happy little family, but I'm so hung up on the things he said in that fight. Am I destroying my family over one bad night? Am I being unreasonable for asking my husband to get a vasectomy? What do you think? Edit. I've noticed a lot of people recommending barrier methods of contraception. I have gotten pregnant using Johnny's twice. Our second child and my first pregnancy were both conceived while using this method correctly, proper fit, correctly applied, single use, not expired, no breaks, etc. I do not trust this method enough not to fail a third time. I know the failure rate is supposedly small, but it's not personally small enough for me. By the first pregnancy, I mean the pregnancy with Tom. With Jack, I was on the patch when I got pregnant with our daughter, using the plastic barrier method with our son, and the pill with the twins. So far, I haven't ever suspected that Jack has tampered with our birth control and always presumed that I'm a fertile myrtle. I recognize the comments and just want people to know I'm seeing the suggestion. I'm not dismissing it, but the thought of it is deeply upsetting and has provoked a lot of anxiety. I just wanted to make it clear that if the suggestion is only based on the plastic protection method, those pregnancies were with 2 different partners. While I know I always use the method properly with Tom, I do believe that Tom could have been fully capable of sabotaging the contraception. Relevant comments. You're not in the wrong, but your husband is though. Your body has already been through a lot. A tubal ligation is a serious surgery and you are right about being out of commission for a while when recovering. If he is more concerned with an imaginary future wife than he is for you, I don't think there is much hope for this marriage. We have 4 close friends who all got vasectomies. None of them bitched about it like your wimp of a husband. We actually had fun vasectomy-themed parties for them. On the off chance he does end up getting a vasectomy, make sure to do the follow-up appointments. One of the vasectomy Fantastic Four did not follow through and ended up with a post-vasectomy baby. Response: thank you. I feel like this is a lot of what has been so upsetting has been that he's thinking about some imaginary future wife when I'm right here, his actual wife, the mother of his children. It's like he's already imagining a future without me. Update. I in no way am forcing him to have a medical procedure, but I am saying that I do not want to be with a partner who is not willing to be snipped. This is an issue of compatibility. The number of children you want, the methods of birth control you're willing to use, those are issues of compatibility and a reason relationships end all the time. If he doesn't want to be sterilized, that's fine, but then that means that we're not compatible anymore, since it means he wants more children and I don't. Beyond the nice and supportive comments, there were some comments and some DMs that were just nasty, saying my body is a cemetery, and a few other things. Sadly enough, I expected those types of comments, because I know there are a lot of Toms out in the world. First, I wanted to address a couple things that kept coming up. You're 100% going to have a C-section anyway, so just get a tubal while giving birth. I'm not 100% certain to have a C-section. Twins are not an automatic indication for one. Given my birth history, there is no reason to presume it is inevitable. My OB agrees, acknowledging the possibility but also stating that based on my previous birth experiences, I'm a perfect candidate for a classic delivery. I'm not going to be vague. Tubal ligations are less effective than vasectomies and carry a much higher risk of an ectopic pregnancy, which can be life-threatening. I am rejecting birth control options that, if they fail, could endanger my life. I don't want to be pregnant again, but I also don't want to leave my children motherless. Given the current climate, there's no guarantee that traveling to another state for an emergency medical procedure will always be an option. It's important to understand that vasectomies are more effective than tubal ligations, period. Go to another state and obtain an abortion anyway. I truly appreciate the personal offers of assistance I've received in my messages, but the answer is no. I'm currently in my second trimester, which I know is still legal in some places. However, at this point in my pregnancy, I don't feel comfortable pursuing that option. I'm 16 weeks along, and these babies are no longer just clusters of cells to me. I won't expand on this further because it's not open for debate. Why not adoption? With all due respect to those involved in adoption, it's not the right choice for me. This is a decision I've contemplated before, and now that I'm a mother, I know it's even less of a viable option. Carrying a pregnancy to term, having my babies, and then parting with them would be emotionally devastating. Leave him and give him full custody of the twins. No. Going through a full pregnancy, having my babies, and then being separated from them would be too painful for me. Jack is sabotaging your birth control. I've detailed my birth control methods in the original post, but I want to address this because it came up frequently. I have no reason to believe that Jack sabotaged my birth control. Accusing my husband of reproductive coercion without evidence is a significant accusation. I'm not alone in my experiences. There's a reason the term fertile myrtle exists. Your husband is a narcissist, psychopath, and he does no childcare. Historically, my husband and I have had a healthy and loving relationship outside of this argument. This incident is the first serious conflict we've had, and we've always been able to resolve our smaller disagreements through communication. He's an involved father, and the distribution of childcare is based on factors such as maternity leaves, work schedules, and my boob feeding. While someone assumed I'm the breadwinner, Jack actually earns more, although the difference is not substantial. When he is home, he participates in household chores and parenting. However, the things he said during the argument were concerning, and we are working through them together. To get down to the real update, since my last post, Jack and I have had a serious and honest conversation. I won't go through all the details, but it essentially boiled down to this: it's about the vasectomy, but also much more than that. I acknowledge that it was wrong of me to compare him to Tom, but it was even worse for him to weaponize my trauma against me in such a hurtful way. The way he intentionally used the same language as my harmer to hurt me was not acceptable and damaged the trust between us. He agreed that his behavior was unacceptable and admitted that he felt horrified and ashamed of his own words afterward, explaining, not excusing, that he snapped under stress. Regarding his comment about his next wife, he clarified that it wasn't a lack of commitment to me but rather a reaction from feeling hurt and wanting to hurt me back. He has apologized numerous times and seems genuinely remorseful. Regarding the separation, I am still moving forward with it. I need space and time, especially before the babies arrive. I'm staying with my parents, who, for the record, are not tired of me or the kids. We're a close-knit family. I only moved out when I moved in with Jack, and my sister moved out about a year ago, so they have been empty nesters, and my mom doesn't like that we live too far away, an hour. What I have realized with space and time is how deeply triggering the situation was for me. It's something that I can't fully explain to those without PTSD from DV, but those who know will understand. It has deeply unsettled me, and I'm struggling to get over it, so to speak. There is now a lot of fear towards my husband that wasn't there before, and it's going to take a lot to repair that trust and sense of safety. I cannot make a decision while I'm in this state, and I'm addressing this with my personal therapist. Overall, I told him that if he wanted to stay married to me, I needed two things from him: marriage counseling and a vasectomy, and even then, I still can't guarantee anything. He understands, but I don't know what will happen with a vasectomy right now. We focused more on discussing the fight, but he is very aware that it's now a deal breaker. We have a marriage counseling appointment set up for next week. I'm hoping that counseling will bring some clarity to the situation. In the meantime, for the next couple of months, I'm focusing on giving my kids lots of cuddles and preparing myself for 2 new babies to come into my world, with or without Jack. Update 2. I've been hesitant to update because I know a lot of people have strong feelings about the original posts. However, I've continued to receive comments since my last post, so I figured it was worth sharing an update as a lot has happened. Since my last post, we've gone through with the separation while maintaining 50-50 custody, but we only shared this with our closest friends and family. We also started attending weekly couples counseling, and to summarize, we both had a lot to work through and we both put in a lot of effort. I won't share his reasons for avoiding a vasectomy, but he did explain them to me, and part of it involved deconstructing certain beliefs about masculinity. We also worked on the deeper issue, his use of my trauma during a fight. That was always the biggest issue, far more than the vasectomy. We spent a lot of time addressing this, which opened up the door to other deeper issues for both of us. We stuck to our agreed upon separation time because we both wanted to resolve our issues one way or another before the twins are born. While we worked with our therapist, we didn't discuss the vasectomy outside of structured therapy sessions. Our therapist felt it was best for Jack's choice to undergo the procedure or not to remain a non-discussion so we could focus on deeper issues. This approach helped make our discussions more productive, but it also meant I was left in the dark about his decision. There's been a lot of soul-searching and serious discussions between Jack and me. Things he said in therapy and our conversations have led me to believe he is deeply regretful of his words, understands their gravity, and is working to never repeat them. He hasn't reinforced those ideas or suggested he truly believed what he said. I've been open to his words while also being aware they could just be lip service. The agreed-upon separation period has ended, and we recently had our final therapy appointment during this time. Some things happened within our families that brought both complications and clarity. Jack went through with the vasectomy. He recovered quickly and was fine. I did not force him, it was his own decision. I didn't end the separation immediately after the procedure, and he knew this would be the case. We continued to do the work in therapy. He is not castrated or emasculated, he's the same man he was before, just no longer able to conceive. He had the procedure shortly after we started therapy but couldn't tell me due to our agreement not to discuss the vasectomy. He didn't get snipped to gain access to me, and I'm still pregnant anyway, and it wasn't solely to save the marriage. We are continuing therapy together and are in the process of reunification. We are still together, my husband has had a vasectomy, but now we have difficult decisions to make about the viability of living in this state and raising our children here. Following reunification, our next big hurdle is deciding whether to continue living here. This is something Jack and I have been discussing for a couple of years, and it's not brand new information. This conversation is coming to a head now because most of the reason we've stayed here is to be close to my family. His family is more spread out and less close. Both my sister and my brother and his wife have recently experienced things that make them feel unsafe here. My sister has already decided to move after what happened to her and how the laws here made her situation much more traumatic. We have one daughter and may have up to 3 daughters soon. How can we justify raising them here, knowing how the state would treat them? So that's where we are. We are still together, still actively working on our relationship and attending therapy, both couples and individual. Jack got the vasectomy and is doing great. Our next hurdle is deciding if we want to continue living in a state that has proven to be dangerously hostile. I don't know what else to say, that's pretty much it. Although the initial issue has been resolved, there's still a lot of uncertainty about the future, but I guess that's life, and that's everything for me. I appreciate all the help, thank you. I wanted my stepdaughter to have my wedding dress, until she called it trashy, but as soon as I gave it to my future daughter-in-law, she suddenly wanted it and threw a tantrum. I, 42 feet, got married 24 years ago. I decided that if I had a daughter, I would pass the dress and accessories on to her. I chose a simple, elegant dress, rather than what was fashionable at the time, because I wanted something timeless that people could wear for generations to come. I had my son, Mark, 22 meters, a year later, and his father passed away when he was young. I raised Mark as a single mom for several years. I decided that when Mark married, I would give my dress and accessories to his wife. When I was 33, I met Robert, now 52 meters. I fell in love with him, and we quickly married. He became a great father figure for Mark, and I was so excited to have a stepdaughter, Molly, now 24 feet. My relationship with Molly had a rocky beginning. I've been patient and gentle with her. I've offered to take her shopping or get her nails done. I asked Rob about her favorite foods and made sure to cook those. She made it clear that she didn't see me as her real mom. Years passed, and I never changed the way I treated Molly. My door was always open for her, but she never changed the way she thought about me. She called me a trophy wife to my face. If I ever threw a charity event, she would remark, "Wow, you're so generous with Dad's money." While she didn't say anything explicitly, I could tell she looked down on me for not having a college degree. A couple of years ago, I made a final offering to Molly. I brought her into my closet, showed her the dress and accessories, and told her I would love for her to wear them at her wedding. Some alterations would have to be made. I am 5 feet 9 inches and a size 4, while Molly is 5 feet 4 inches and a size 8, but we could make it work. Molly scoffed and said I had archaic values, and that the dress was trashy, then walked out. That really hurt because she knew what that dress meant to me, and she didn't care. After that, I stopped making as much of an effort to build a relationship with her. 2 months ago, Mark proposed to his college sweetheart, Lucy, with whom I have a great relationship. When Lucy mentioned dress shopping, I showed her my dress. Lucy tried it on, and it fit like a glove. She fell in love with it, and I told her the dress, shoes, and accessories were hers. She was so happy she literally cried. However, a couple of days ago, Molly reached out to me out of the blue to ask if the dress was still available. I told her I had given it to Lucy. She asked if I could get it back from Lucy since I offered it to her first, and I told her 1, she said she didn't want it. 2, it fits Lucy perfectly, and 3, Lucy is the only one getting married in the foreseeable future. Now Molly is saying I'm favoring Lucy over her because she's conforming to traditional standards of femininity, getting married and being thin. That's absolute baloney, but it got me thinking that if the roles were reversed and Lucy was the one asking for the dress after initially turning it down, would I give it to her? Is Molly right that I'm favoring Lucy? What do you think? Relevant comments. Comment 1, Molly only wants it because Lucy has it. Lucy recognized how precious this dress was to you and treated it accordingly, while Molly turned her nose up in an attempt to hurt you. Lucy accepting the dress sounds like a wonderful bonding moment for you both. Cherish the memory, ease your mind, you've done nothing wrong. Comment 2, this is the answer. She found out that you gave it to Lucy, so now she says she wants it. Listen, she's just going to cut it up and throw it in your face anyway if you give it to her, breaking yours and Lucy's hearts at the same time. Avoid any drama. What's done is done. Comment 3, why did Molly even reach out to you about the dress, given that she's not getting married? What does she even want to do with something she considers trashy? It's obvious that she only wanted to hurt you here because she knew you were giving it to someone else. It has no meaning to her other than as a way to hurt you. You've already given the dress away, so you're done here. Update. Wow, thank you for all of your kind words. I wanted to give an update to respond to general questions and comments. First, I want to say that the fact that most of the comments are on my side is very reassuring. It makes me feel better about my decision to not give my dress to Molly. I saw some comments suggesting this, so I would like to let you know I already gave the dress to Lucy, and it's safe in her apartment now. Molly has already been bugging Lucy about the dress, but Lucy told me there's no way in heck she's giving it away. Some of you have also been wondering about Mark and Rob's responses. Mark is currently out of town on business, and I have had no communication with him on this matter. I'm sure he'll be supportive of Lucy, though. I did not bring this up to Rob because, while Molly and I have a difficult relationship, I don't want to sow division between her and her father. However, Rob brought it up last night, saying Molly had contacted him on email. Rob was like, "You weren't going to give it to her, are you?" When I said no, he told me to promise him I would not give the dress to her. It was very comforting to know Rob is on my side. Another thing I want to clarify is that I do not expect Molly to conform to certain standards. When I referred to traditional standards of femininity, getting married and being thin, I was paraphrasing words that came out of her mouth. I was raised in a traditional household, but I understand that a lot of women, especially young women, do not share my values. Frankly, Lucy doesn't either. She has an engineering degree and openly talks about wanting to prioritize her career over starting a family, at least for the foreseeable future, and I couldn't be happier for her. I do realize that I could have done a better job communicating to Molly that I don't care what she does so long as she is a good person and leaves the world better than she found it. Lastly, because after reading the comments, I fear I painted Molly in a bad light, I should say that Molly has had a rough life due to the divorce between Bob and her biological mother. I have never met her mother, and I don't want to go into gross detail on the internet about someone's life other than my own, but I will say that her relationship with her mother is not great. I think Molly might be projecting aspects of that relationship onto me. However, your comments have helped me realize she is in the wrong in this situation. I've also realized that it isn't just on me to build a relationship with her, she has to work at it too, and so far, she is not. I'm never going to shut her out, but at this point, if she wants to connect with me, she has to be the one making the effort. I really hope the best for her, but she sure as heck isn't getting that dress. Thank you, everyone. I was more of a mom to my siblings than my mom ever was, so when she announced she's having another baby, I announced I'm never seeing her again. My mom, 37 fish, has 4 kids, me, 22 feet, along with 3 younger siblings, 14 feet, 7 feet and 4 meters. The second oldest and I have different dads from each other and the other 2. They, along with this upcoming baby, all have the same dad, our stepdad. I'm sorry if that was confusing, there are 3 dads in total, but only our stepdad is currently involved. Growing up, I was the babysitter and mom. When my sister was born, I magically became the mom, even though I wasn't even in double digits yet. When the others came along, I was still the mom. I didn't get to have fun, go out, or be a kid. My job in the house was to cook, clean, raise my siblings, and deal with our mom. She was incredibly immature, loved to drink, party, spend money on luxuries, and avoid being a mom. While she acts more like a mom now, a lot of the work still falls on me. She robbed me of my childhood, and I'm very bitter about it. The only reason I lived at home for so long was that no one else would or could take me in, and I felt I could tolerate it all for free rent and food. It was a good deal for me then, but I'm 22 now. I'm done being a mom when I don't even have kids. Last year, my stepdad's parents died in a car accident, and as their only child, he inherited everything. We all moved into their home and got a bit of money, so I guess they decided to have a baby. When my mom announced it, I asked if she was serious. She confirmed and jokingly asked if I still had my diaper-changing skills. I was silently livid. I dryly laughed and found some roommates online that night. The thought of wasting another 10+ years raising my siblings sounded like hell. She found out that I'm planning to leave in August, and now she's irate, calling me every name under the sun and selfish. She got my siblings involved, and the youngest is crying, asking why I don't love them anymore and why I'm leaving. It's really low to use kids like that, and it hurts. I don't want to stay, but I don't want them to cry. I know I'm doing the right thing for myself, but is it the right thing for them? My mom never really parented growing up. She wouldn't, so I took over that role. I was the one who changed diapers, taught them their ABCs, and all that. I was the one who cooked dinner and bathed them. I see none of my siblings as siblings but as my own kids because that's essentially what they are. I don't think she'll do a good job. She and my stepdad rely on me heavily in that category. Am I going too far for leaving? I need advice on how to get over this feeling and move on. Relevant comments. Comment 1: No, leave now. It's getting way manipulative, and your mom seems like the queen of making poor choices as it is. Like Jesus. Run for your life, remain in contact with your siblings, but it's not your obligation to be a mother to your mom's kids. Response: I agree with her being the queen of bad decisions. When I was born, I could excuse it because she was so young and needed guidance. My grandparents, her parents, were permissive and let her do whatever she wanted with little to no consequences. It was really fun when I was a kid because, well, no rules. I moved a lot growing up into her boyfriend's houses and stayed with her friends frequently when she went out to party. Eventually, as you might expect, I learned that that wasn't fun and that I wanted my mom. I would cry, and she'd push me aside because she just didn't want to be a parent. She's doing a lot more now, like I said in my post, but it's obvious she has no idea what kids are really like. She sees them sort of as decoration because they were always shoved at me. She knows she's going to have a world of hell waiting for her once I'm gone. Comment 2: You tell the kids, I love you in my heart, no matter what, always. And you leave because you deserve a life that is not being a domestic servant to your mother's failed birth control philosophy. You being parentified at such a young age is a form of abuse. Sit down with your 14-year-old sister and explain what happened to you, and that she can't let it happen to her. Your mom will come after her next. It would be a very good idea to get a therapist to help you reframe exactly how badly you have been treated and why you need to leave. You can't help the other kids, really, until you help yourself first. Response: I thought about my sister a lot as well, which is what makes this so hard. I took the brunt of everything so she wouldn't have to. I wanted her to be a kid. 14 is way too early to be a parent, and I know that that's what will happen to her. I know that she'll just do what she's told, and she's responsible enough to realize when things aren't working, and she'll try to fix them herself and fall into that trap. I don't know how to have that conversation with her without my household exploding, but I know it needs to be done. My 2 little siblings have just been crying and crying, thinking that I'm never coming back. Even though I tell them I'll visit, my mom keeps telling them that I'm never coming back and that I'm abandoning the family. Update 1. Holy crap, this kind of blew up when I wasn't expecting it to. Thanks, everyone, for the kind messages. You all are right, I need to go. My mom and stepdad need to figure it out. I'm going to talk to all 3 of my siblings and explain that my leaving is normal and a good thing. I'll always be a phone call away. I'm most worried about my 14-year-old sister, though, and will not hesitate to get authorities involved if I suspect she's going through what I went through or if she tells me herself. I'll be giving her a different type of talk soon to try and prevent her from becoming the new mom. Thanks, everyone. If I update again, it'll be after I've already moved out. I really appreciate your support. It's giving me the strength to do what's right, even if it hurts. My mom and stepdad can hire a babysitter with his inheritance if they really can't do it. Update 2. I just want to say thank you again for your kind words and encouragement. You have no idea what they meant to me. I moved out, and everything is going fine. My mom and stepdad blocked me, but my 14-year-old sister is doing okay. I talked to all my siblings individually, but it was rough in more ways than one. I had an explosive argument with my mom the day I left, but that was to be expected. She said nothing new, called me selfish, a brat, a terrible daughter, and said that she wished she had aborted me. Nothing I haven't heard before. About a week or so before I moved out, I stopped doing most of the things I used to do. My parents freaked out, and we had a lot of arguments, but I'm happy it's over. Every time they saw me, a comment was made either to my face or under their breath. My mom would act like I was invisible and talk crap about me to whoever was around. She filled my siblings' heads with bullcrap, and I was incredibly stressed about it. I actually considered staying at that point. I was very close to just staying home, which I know will disappoint you all, but I almost did. This wasn't an easy transition for my siblings, they're still young. It hurt so much watching them get wrapped up in all of this. My parents had no idea how to do anything, for some reason. They had no patience and couldn't get the kids to listen to them. I know they didn't have much experience in childcare, but they were acting brand new. I had a really hard time watching them struggle and watching my siblings suffer because of it. I felt horrible, like I was neglecting them. School is also coming up soon, and I used to always get them ready, so that's going to be an upcoming problem. I'm happy I won't be around for that, but I'm also sad that I won't be. My little brother will be a kindergartner, and my sister will be a freshman in high school, huge milestones I wanted to be around for. But on the bright side, my sister is playing the incompetence card all on her own, and I love her for it. After our conversation about not turning out like me, she told me she'll pretend not to know how to do things until Mom stops asking her, which hasn't happened yet. Apparently, Mom asks her to cook, wash the kids, get them dressed, etc. little gateway things that will spiral into her being the new mom. I'm proud of her for sticking to her plan for the few weeks she has. She's a lot stronger than I thought she was. I really thought I'd have to drill it into her not to do anything, but she's doing a lot better than expected. I just hope she doesn't crumble under the pressure. I know it's hard. In order to visit, I have to be welcomed back into the house, but that isn't going well since I'm blocked. I don't want my sister being the middleman, even though she's already trying. I want to see everyone, but without permission, there's nothing I can do. And if anyone cares about my new move, my roommates are great. We played Monopoly on our first night all settled in, and it was a great bonding experience. They're very clean people, which seems so small, but holy crap, it's amazing. I'm loving my current arrangement and hoping it lasts. So yeah. I'm doing fine, my sister didn't take over my job, and I hope she never does, and my parents are losing their minds as expected. I can see their marriage falling apart in the future too. They can figure it all out and raise this one start to finish. Part of me still feels incredibly guilty for leaving, and I sometimes regret it, but my newfound freedom feels so good, and I'm reminded of why I left. I'm going to a bar later tonight with my roommates for the first time in my life to let loose and have fun. It feels so weird to say, but I feel like a teenager now. Everything is so exciting and feels a bit illegal, like I'm out way past curfew. So thank you again, everyone. I don't think I'd have actually moved without your words. Even though I found roommates, I don't think I could have left on my own. I wouldn't have committed and probably just stayed home. I'm not as strong as I thought I was. It really helped me make a decision when I thought about disappointing you all. I've never met any of you, but having a cheerleader and knowing that so many of you saw my post and wrote me a kind message really helped. I couldn't be more grateful and excited to live my life. I thought it would be a great time to update since I'm going out tonight to have some fun. Someday, all the guilt will be gone and I'll patch up my relationship with everyone. I still want to have a relationship with my mom someday if she changes and allows it. As much as I say I hate her, I still sort of love her. She's still my mom. Bye, everyone. Thank you all so much. My friends are outing my best friend, because he used to be a woman, so I taught them a lesson by cutting them off for being transphobic, and got nuclear revenge. My bestie Leo and I have been best friends for over a decade, so I've known him since before his transition. He didn't live in the city I did until about 4 years ago, but when he moved, I helped him get a job, make friends, etc. Some people think he's my boyfriend of a year. The truth is a bit more complicated. 2 years ago, I got out of a very harmful relationship. When I was back on the market, I got swarmed with casual guys asking me out. Leo pretended to be my boyfriend to fend off an especially pushy guy at a bar where we're both regulars, and we kept it going because, 1, he was being pressured by his co-workers and mentors, who kept telling him that he's a catch and should date, but he hasn't felt ready, and 2, I needed peace to focus on my therapy and healing from my past relationship. Note, our close friend group knows that Leo and I are not really a couple. Another guy like that was Ian, another friend in the group. He asked me out about 4 or 5 months after my breakup. I explained that I needed at least a 2-year break from dating to focus on therapy, work through my trauma, and take time to focus on myself and what I want. He said he understood, and not even 2 months later, we found out that Ian and another person in the group were a couple, and now they're engaged. Ian has been a friend for maybe 3 or 4 years. We were never especially close, and I always just viewed him as a member of our 6-person friend group. We only ever hung out with the group, never one-on-one. I guess I'm saying this to point out that Ian is sort of like the Flash to my Batman. We get along well when we're with the other super friends, but don't expect too many duo team-ups. At a party at my place, where many of our co-workers and bosses were present, Leo's boss pointed at me and Leo, saying something about how he can't wait for us to settle down and have kids, and asked, "Come on, Leo, what are you waiting for, man?" Ian snorted and muttered man incredulously, then said, "Yeah, if you want to call Leo a man, that's on you." At first, our friends thought it was a supernatural joke, since a lot of us loved the show. But then Ian declared that Leo is actually a woman and provided proof by showing pictures of Leo pre-transition. Ian then made comments implying that I must be a lesbian, I'm bi, and that Leo and I must actually be a real couple and sleeping together. He was kicked out of my home. Being outed as a trans man at work caused a lot of drama, and Leo became depressed, staying with me for the better part of a month. He didn't eat much, lost a ton of weight, and almost never left the house unless he had to go to work. He's been saying very self-loathing, morbid things here and there. I've been really worried about him. I won't lie, I was furious. I'm not an overly confrontational person and am a recovering doormat, but this made my whole being boil. I've been focused on being attentive to Leo and trying to channel my angst, anger, and ire into productive things. But the friend group is a bit complicated, as most think Ian is a jerk for outing Leo, but some also think Leo is in the wrong for not being honest with them. Here's where I might be the schlong. I texted Ian and his fiancée, our mutual friend in the group, Clara, and said that Ian isn't welcome at my home for the foreseeable future and that his future acceptance depends on his actions and Leo's ability to forgive. But Clara defended him, saying Ian was just upset that Leo hid that he was really trans all along and now felt uncomfortable. She said Leo should have said something, at least to our group, before joining outings like swimming, where the men change in the men's locker room and the women in the women's, etc. She said she feels hurt that another woman saw Ian undressing, and the situation devolved from there. In this group, we all work in the same industry but in different departments and mostly at different companies. We're always adjacent to one another in our careers. That's to say, everyone here usually makes at least okay money, and we all know each other's co-workers and the like. I got a call from another friend, Daniel, who is hiring for a senior position. He said Ian had applied for it. Daniel is essentially above Ian, as Daniel is the boss of Ian's current boss. Ian had put me down as a reference, which is something our group does frequently when applying. Daniel was content to use the same letter of recommendation I had sent before when Ian applied for his current position, but he wanted to cover all the bases. I told him that I no longer see Ian as an ethical, responsible, or suitable candidate in our field, given that he seems to be bigoted towards queer folks. As a queer woman, I no longer trust him and would not want to work with him if I had any say in it. Daniel was quiet and asked what caused the change, but I didn't tell him. I just said recent events have caused me to reassess. This was perhaps a week ago. Well, a few hours ago, Clara came over to my place and was pissed. She told me that Ian is getting grilled at work, that HR combed his social media, and they're now considering disciplinary actions against him. She said she knows it's me. She said Leo literally doesn't have the balls to call the company, so it had to be me. She seemed to think I had a crush on Ian and that he turned me down, so I was jealous of her and trying to ruin their lives. She called me desperate and degenerate. I snapped and asked her to leave. She then texted me the same argument she had before, and I reiterated via text that I don't want to speak to her or Ian ever again. I screenshotted all of this and sent it to our friend group chat before leaving the chat. Now I'm getting messages from almost everyone asking what's happening, but also saying that I'm going nuclear and went too far. I texted Leo, and he says he's not ready to deal with a friend group right now, so I can do what I think is right, and he'll regroup and come back to it when he's ready. Did I go too far in involving everyone? What do you think? Update. A little under a month ago, I posted about an ongoing issue. My best friend Leo was outed as a trans man publicly by our former mutual friend Ian. Ian had applied for a job before all this and used us as references, and I said that I don't find him to be trustworthy nor would I want to work with him. Another friend of ours, Clara, basically blamed me for Ian getting a lot of heat at work. The update is that they combed his social media and uncovered quite a few unsavory posts. I never knew this, but he's hugely and vocally transphobic and homophobic. So, instead of a promotion, he got fired. I had already left the friend group chat by this point, and I had blocked both Ian and Clara. My focus was on Leo, who was going through the deepest depression I've ever seen him experience, and we've known each other for a significant portion of our lives. I helped him find emergency therapy, and he stayed with me for almost a month because he was concerned he might relapse. He was spiraling, but thankfully, he's now on the other side of it all. Still, it was terrifying. Neither of us got much sleep during that time, and I called into work often out of exhaustion, concern, or simply feeling numb. A few weeks ago, I caught up with a friend from our old group named Ava, in her 30s, at a place we all frequent. She told me that Ian had been telling everyone that Leo is a woman in real life and cosplays as a man. My blood boiled, but then I heard about Ian being fired, and I'll admit, I didn't feel much sympathy. He hurt my best friend, so in my view, he got off lightly. Of course, about a week after that, I ran into him and Clara at our local grocery store. I'm a creature of habit, that's the store in my community, and I always get groceries on Sundays. Then, I walk across to the Starbucks next door, have tea, and scroll through my phone for a bit before biking back home. I saw them, they saw me, I avoided them, got my stuff, and walked to Starbucks. Ian, I guess, had things to say, so he ended up there too. He approached me as I waited for my coffee and started going on about how I stabbed him in the back, stooped low to do so, and now he has no job. He said he might have to move because of the rumors I spread about him and that he's being ostracized. He kept complaining, and since this is a Starbucks in a pretty liberal city, I just loudly said, well, that's what happens to transphobes, Ian. No one likes a bigot. Go away. While he continued talking, I couldn't hear over the nonsense. A big guy walked over and told him to leave. Ian then started arguing with this guy, and they began trading insults until Ian aggressively pointed a finger in my face and hurled a slur. I know. Like, seriously? Leave enough hate for the other people out there. It turns out being openly racist crosses a line, even more so than being everything phobic, because that's when people started shouting. Eventually, he was just drowned out, surrounded by people who seemed ready to stand up to him, some holding their phones up to record. I was forgotten and just sort of drifted back as he tried to take on a crowd of people from our city, where we don't tolerate that kind of behavior. He left and later sent Leo a long message accusing him of ruining his life because he is masquerading as a man. He said that if he were a real man, he would confront him himself rather than have his friend, me, go after him. Ian went on to say that if anything happens to him due to the stress of being so hated, since he's now getting trolled on social media and receiving threats, it will be Leo's fault. Ian mentioned he should sue Leo and me for defamation and lost wages since we started this witch hunt. Today, I heard he moved, without Clara. She's still here. I don't know about her situation right now, and honestly, I don't really care. I do know she met with Leo and apologized, which he accepted, but he made it clear that their friendship is over. She offered to go to Pride, which is happening locally, and Leo said she's welcome to go but not with him. She asked him to give me a note she wrote for me, which he did, but I haven't read it and probably won't. As far as I'm concerned, she doesn't exist anymore. So that's it. I had forgotten about my post until Leo asked me what happened with it, and I was like, oh yeah. Personally, as a lurker, I dislike unresolved stories, so here it is. Here's your conclusion. That's a wrap.
My long-term loving wife was chatted up at the gym, and is now running away with the gym bro after 3 months, so is there any way to salvage this relationship, or am I cooked? My wife, 30 feet, and I, 33 meters, started going to the gym together. We were loving the results of the fitness. It made intimacy even better and we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We felt as happy and close as ever. Some important information: my wife and her brother were very close when young. He got very into alcohol, went to prison for 10 years, went immediately back to drinking, then died in front of her. 3 weeks after her brother died, this guy chats her up at the gym and she immediately clicks with him. I was wary, but I trusted my wife. She is a sweetheart and never imagined her having the ability to have an affair. Last weekend we had one of the most romantic days and evenings we have had in a while. This week she decides that she cannot go on without finding out why she developed such a quick connection with this guy. We own a house and 3 pets. Her family and everyone we know are devastated and blown away, but she is dead serious. The woman I knew last month, last week even, has left the building. This is a living nightmare that I just want to wake up from. We did couples counseling 3 times, and have one schedule on Wednesday, but she has completely made up her mind and seems to have rapidly fell out of love with me. My life as I had known it is over. I just needed to get this all off my chest. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Nothing will soothe your pain right now, but I want to say this anyway. I was with my wife for 20 years, 2 kids. She slowly developed a drinking problem and it eventually, as I predicted for years, destroyed our marriage. Even now, 3 years later, I can't believe my life turned out this way. But I met someone new that I love, and am very happy. Your life feels like it's over, but it's not. You will bounce back. You got this. Comment 2. Oh boy, this is going to be a rough road ahead. She is looking for an escape and this guy is going to give her one. She doesn't like him, she likes the escape. She will 100% be back. Only you will know if it's too late. Update 1. I had a kind person reach out to me over the weekend asking how I was doing regarding the above situation. The original post was 8 months ago and got a lot of attention, so I figured I would give an update. My wife filed for divorce a month after moving out. During this time I did the whole online dating thing, which was way worse than I could have ever expected. Kept myself busy working out, building my own confidence, hanging out with friends. In general, it was horrible, but I was trying to keep my head up. I was in therapy. Didn't jive with my first therapist, found a new one in December who I liked a lot more and am still seeing her. Mid-December, my wife calls me, crying, asking if she can stay in the guest bedroom because she has nowhere to go. I say yes, even though she hurt me so badly, I did still love her. So things with guy at the gym turned very toxic very fast. I know the word narcissist gets thrown around a lot these days. This guy though, it's hard to believe these subhuman pieces of trash actually exist. So she stays in the guest bedroom for a week, then goes and stays at her parents' for a month. She had a nervous breakdown and was able to get a medical leave of absence from her work. Mid-January comes around and she is back at the house, but still in a very frantic and erratic state. Sort of like she was withdrawing off hard drugs. I had no idea about the addictive nature of toxic relationships. It's a psychological cluster muck. She is clear that she is too messed up in the head to be in a relationship and is going to work on herself. I give her the time and space she requested. She goes all in on learning about the psychology of all of this crap. Inner child work, how the nervous system reacts and attracts you to toxic people if you grew up in a toxic household. Anxious and avoidant attachment styles. There is this book called How to Stay Married, where the wife had an affair and it turns out the root of the issue was her unresolved childhood trauma. Long story short, same thing happened here. It hurts, but I can forgive her. She is my best friend, and we are insanely compatible in a lot of ways. She has really been returning to herself the past month. She is the happiest I have seen in her at least a year, and last week we filed the paperwork to dismiss the divorce. We are both in individual counseling, and soon to start couples therapy. I am sure a lot of people will think I am making a mistake in reconciling, but I am happy. I do trust her that she now has the knowledge to not let this happen again, and she has the drive to become the best person she can be. Edit. I am seeing all the comments and taking everything to heart. Even especially the ones calling me stupid, chump, doormat. I completely understand where you are coming from. I just don't have time or desire to respond to so much. I want things to work out and do trust my gut that this was a one-time thing. I will post an update and take all of the I told you so if it comes to that. Update 2. My self-esteem is re-shattered and I really don't know what to think. My wife and I were together for 12 years and I thought we had a great life. We were getting it on 4 times a week. Felt very passionate. She always talked about how good I was at pleasing her. She always felt satisfied. She left me for someone she knew 90 days and they lasted 5 months. I tried to salvage a relationship of 12 years. Things were decent but the passion was gone and she was clearly hung up on the fact that her knight in shining armor wasn't who she thought he was. It was making me hate myself staying with her, so I finally left. Today she told me that the main reason we were not able to rekindle things is that the intimacy with the other guy was so mind-blowing that she can't be in a romantic relationship that doesn't have that level of intensity. What the flip, man? I don't know how I'm supposed to process this. Relevant comments. Comment 1. She sounds rather cruel and kind of stupid. I bet your life is going to be better off without her in it. Comment 2. Your wife chose a fantasy over 12 years of commitment, memories and building a life with you. That's self-absorbed. The fact that she gives you the details too is really low. She could have just said she wasn't happy and ended it. Time to find yourself again and think about what you want. Response and update 3. That's the truth. Wish I had accepted that 7 months ago. Our divorce was 12 days away before she dismissed it. Now we gotta go through it again. Love and learn. I wish that were true. I'm leaving because of her hitting me below the belt. Last week I wanted to reconcile. Try and save what was once a loving and secure relationship. Her telling me that crap was the final nail in the coffin. One last kick in the balls to conclude a year of pain and heartbreak. I will be okay though. Yep, got that right. Also just started making 6 figures in a low cost of living area, in addition to selling a house that is nearly paid off. Fitness is my main priority right now. Overall I'm not too worried. I'm ready to move on. I just feel stupid. Not divorced yet. It's been a long time coming but this crap just went down 2 weeks ago. Our finances have been separate for a while now. She is broke and I have like $150,000 savings. My sister is a lawyer, not a divorce lawyer, but she says I should do it without a lawyer. I am doing the paperwork right now. Soon-to-be ex-wife isn't mad at me or anything. She does feel bad and knows she is the piece of crap in this situation. So she is being civil. We've agreed to sell the house, split the profit, and that will be that. She will leave my retirement account alone. Appreciate the advice. That is sound wisdom. I hike a lot, hit the gym 5 to 6 days a week, have been for 2 years. I'm a novice at guitar and this seems like a perfect opportunity to really get good. Would love to be in a band. We'll have to think about the combat sports. I do kickboxing workouts for cardio and do enjoy those. Yep. No doubt. Divorce has been filed. Thanks for the help.